107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
You don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times.
Kamala Harris has just dropped her brand new book. And surprise, surprise. It's overflowing with excuses about why her presidential campaign crashed harder than a failed launch. Predictably, Bill Maher couldn't resist tearing into it, and his response? Absolutely scorching. He argued that 107 days was more than enough time for her to prove herself, win over voters, and show some real leadership. But she blew it. The real shocker, though, came when Maher exposed several glaring falsehoods hidden in her narrative, shredding the glossy illusion she tried so hard to sell. His take was sharp, cutting.
The violence and the crime, people just getting away with it, cashless bail, whatever. I want to see law and order, and I think that would be helpful.
Well, apropos to that, I'll bring up one last subject. Somebody didn't write this, but I want to say it because it's interesting. Some new polling came out, and this is really, I'm speaking to the Democrats especially here, because Trump's numbers are down. They're down with Latinos, they're down with blacks, they're down 15 points with whites. And when whites say, you're not hip anymore, ooh. And yet, in the other poll, on issues, Trump still winning. So this is your big opportunity, Democrats. He's down in the numbers, and you still can't score.
Bill Maher kicks things off by dissecting the latest polls. And the numbers don't lie. They show Trump losing some ground, sure, but here's where it gets interesting. On the issues that actually matter to everyday Americans, the economy, the border, and foreign affairs, Trump still dominates. Maher insists this should be the Democrats' wake-up call, their moment to regroup, refocus, and start delivering results that actually help people. But instead, he says, they're wasting time bowing to woke politics and chasing meaningless culture wars.
When they ask who has a better plan, Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are stupid. 2 points on respect for democracy. Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the takeaway.
What's truly shocking is that Democrats aren't even holding their ground on the very value that defines their name: democracy itself. You'd think they'd dominate when it comes to defending democratic ideals, but the numbers tell a different story. Republicans are not only catching up. In some polls, they're overtaking them as the party better representing democracy. That's not just a warning light. It's a blaring political siren. It shows the Democrats are losing their grip on the very foundation.
The only thing the Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't.
I'd like to...
I'll say a lot of lies on this show, but I won't take that. I will not accept
I thought
that.
you might ask me about it. That's why I had to read it. But the point is, it's like, as you probably know, it's like a diary of what happened. But I was looking for, okay, and what's the plan for the future? There wasn't any, and she's just indicative of the party at large.
The DNC looks completely lost, a ship without a compass. Their only visible strategy seems to be endlessly attacking Donald Trump, often over the pettiest and most irrelevant points imaginable. Beyond the constant stream of criticism, there's nothing solid. No vision, no unity, no plan that tells voters, we're ready to lead. That lack of direction becomes even more glaring when you turn to Kamala Harris. After losing an election and releasing her new book, You'd expect some.
And by the way, that's one of the reasons she lost.
She's rewriting history in the book, too. She's now against men and women's sports. Like, come on. Like, they tried to dismantle Title IX against women when she was vice president.
Right. I mean, that's just one of many examples.
She could have had 701 days and would have still lost that race.
But you're right. The data says it's cost of living, it's inflation, it's immigration, illegal immigration, all those things. Everything else is at the bottom.
Kamala Harris now seems to be slowly backing away from the same woke politics that torpedoed her career. But don't be fooled. At first glance, it might look like growth, maybe even a sign she's finally learning from her mistakes. But dig a little deeper, and the truth becomes obvious. She's not owning up to her past, she's rewriting it. Harris now claims she opposes men competing in women's sports, even though she openly supported it while in office. That kind of revisionist spin might fool casual observers, but not the public that watch.
Illegal immigration, all those things. Everything else is at the bottom.
And by the way,
law and order crime.
107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. You don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years?
From the very first moment, Bill Maher goes straight for the jugular in his takedown of Kamala Harris's new book. And he doesn't hold back. To him, it's not a reflection. It's a laundry list of excuses dressed up as wisdom. At the center of her defense lies that now infamous claim. The 107 days, she insists, were too few to share her message and connect with voters. According to Harris, that short timeline doomed her campaign before it ever stood a chance. But Maher isn't buying it. Not for a second. He calls the argument a total illusion, pointing out that Americans didn't turn away because of the calendar. They turned away because they finally saw the real Kamala, without the safety net of the vice presidency. When the spotlight hit, voters didn't see authenticity or warmth. They saw calculation and disconnect. It wasn't about days. It was about trust, relatability, and
I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that.
And that's exactly the heart of the problem. All Kamala Harris really needed to do was lay out a clear, practical plan, something that addressed the real issues Americans face every single day. That's it. Show a vision for the future, present actual solutions, and let voters decide based on substance, not speeches. She even had the perfect opportunity to break free from Joe Biden's shadow, to show what kind of leader she could be on her own terms. That moment could have defined her, could have proven that she had independence, backbone, and ideas of her own. But once again, she delivered nothing. No blueprint, no bold goals, no clear direction, just empty promises and political slogans. It felt like she expected the presidency to be handed to her, no questions asked. And that's the fatal flaw. Kamala Harris has no distinct message, no strong identity, and no believable solutions.
You're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for President of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for President of the United States, and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
And that's where Bill Maher lands his biggest punch. He zeroes in on one of the most blatant falsehoods in Kamala Harris's entire book, a statement so bold it practically unravels her credibility on the spot. Harris claimed she didn't choose Pete Buttigieg as her running mate because he was gay. Her own words, printed in black and white for the world to see. But when Rachel Maddow pressed her about it, Kamala suddenly backpedaled, insisting that's not what she meant. Or worse, pretending she never said it at all. That kind of denial is political quicksand, and Maher tears it apart with surgical precision. If she can't even stand by what she herself wrote, how can voters trust her to stand firm on real policy or leadership decisions? Maher's conclusion cuts deep. This isn't just about campaign slip-ups, it's about integrity. With every excuse, every contradiction, and every desperate rewrite of her own story, Kamala Harris keeps bleeding away the one thing no politician can afford to lose: credibility.
This is what she said about New York mayoral hopeful and radical hard leftist Zoran Mamdani.
What do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure.
Look, if you thought Kamala had acquired some wisdom, some class and perspective in the months since she was resoundingly beaten by President Trump, well, you'd be disappointed. All she revealed overnight is that she's a frightful bigot.
And that's exactly why Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign went up in flames. A political collapse everyone saw coming. At the core of her downfall lies one brutal truth: she stands for nothing. She dodges firm positions, avoids real principles, and rarely presents a clear vision of what she believes in. Take her support for Zoran Mamdani's candidacy in New York, a perfect example of hollow politics. She didn't back him because of policy, leadership, or merit. She backed him for one shallow reason: he's a Democrat. That's it. No conviction, no strategy, no purpose. And that's the disease infecting her party. Loyalty over logic. Branding over belief. When Democrats rally behind candidates out of blind allegiance instead of strong ideas, they lose credibility by the day. Harris became the embodiment of that weakness, and voters made their stance loud and clear in 2024. They're done settling for empty promises and paper-thin politics.
She decided for some reason now would be the time, instead of when she was actually running for president, to say all the ways in which she disagreed with Joe Biden, all the bad things she thought about the Biden team. Great. Okay. I'm here for it, sister. Go. I believe every word, by the way. So it's really been super fun to watch the circular firing squad amongst the Dems. Usually they're a little better about holding their discipline on that. It's usually the Republicans who do all the infighting. So I'm thrilled to see it, and I really can't wait until her next appearance. I can't wait to hear what she has to say next.
Remember when Kamala Harris was running for president and proudly declared she wouldn't change a single thing Joe Biden had done? That was her entire pitch. Blind loyalty wrapped in political obedience. But fast forward to today, and suddenly the tune has changed. Now that she's free from the vice presidency, Harris is pointing fingers at everything that went wrong under Biden. Inflation, border chaos, foreign policy disasters, the whole list. The irony is almost painful. These were the very issues she ignored when she actually had the power to make a difference. Instead of speaking up or challenging Biden's failures, she played it safe, protecting her image while the problems spiraled out of control. And now, long after the damage is done, she's finally trying to sound like a reformer. But for most Americans, it's just too little, too late. Her book and her public statements only reinforce why she lost in 2024 and why her future looks so uncertain. From dodging accountability and rewriting history to clinging to woke politics, Harris has yet to show voters real